What's up, my God-fearing, Bible-reading believers? Welcome to another segment here of A Sermon and Story. I'm your host, Balthazar. Today, we will be talking about a story that a lot of people know. This story is found in a couple different places in the Bible. The first place being Matthew 14, second place being Matthew 6. And if you know what I'm talking about, this is the story of Jesus walking on water. So Jesus walking on water. If you read in the previous sections of Matthew and Mark, you realize that at this moment in time, Jesus and the disciples are trying to get away from like their day-to-day life. They're trying to go on what we call like a vacation or a retreat. But this isn't like a let's all go to deeper water park. This is more like, hey, my friend just died and we need a moment just to mourn him. And the person who just died was John the Baptist, just died, got executed. And Jesus and the disciples are trying to get away from the ministry for a couple of days to kind of get their heads back on right. And they were approached by a crowd, and this is the feeding of 5,000, a miracle that happened. Now, the disciples are getting antsy because they want to get away too. They're stressed out. They had just lost their really good friend, and Jesus sends them on a boat across the sea. And Jesus goes, I'll meet you there, as he departs the people from the crowd that he just fed. Now, Jesus goes up to pray into this mountain. So Jesus is going up praying. And at this moment in time when Jesus is off praying, all of a sudden, this storm starts happening in the middle of the water. Now, it says that Jesus saw that the disciples weren't making much progress in the journey. Now, I don't know if Jesus actually physically saw them or saw them in a vision. I don't know if he can see out in the sea and say, oh look, there's a little boat, that must be the disciples. They're not moving very fast. Or if it was like Jesus having spidey powers. I don't think that's necessarily important for this particular section. But we do know that Jesus knows that they're not making much headway. Now, Jesus decides, I'm gonna go meet them because they're not going very fast. So the disciples are in their boat. The wind is against them. Their waves are high. And it's sort of like a storm. The water isn't still. The wind isn't quiet. There's lots of wind and lots of waves. And the disciples notice something off in the distance. Something walking on the water. And as Bible reading people, we know that Jesus is walking on the water. But the disciples don't know this. So they start freaking out. Like, what the heck is this? And I bet one of them said, ghost. And Jesus says, take heart. It is me. Do not be afraid. Now, we like to picture this story as Jesus being calm and collect, and he just saying, don't be afraid guys, it's me. But let's put this in context. This is in the middle of a really restless sea. The water is not quiet, it's splashing, it's loud. The wind isn't quiet, it's probably howling. And Jesus is off in a distance. So I don't imagine Jesus being like, hey, it's me. I imagine Jesus combing his hand, goes, do not be afraid. It is me. Yelling, projecting his voice to them. And now, the disciples hear this and they get this level of comfort because this guy's saying, hey, it's me. And Peter goes, if it is really you, Lord, command me to go on the water. And I love Jesus' response here. He's like, come. The water's great. Jesus commands Peter to go. And Peter's enthusiasm here is just incredible. It doesn't say he hesitated. It just says, so Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. Now, it didn't say he tried to walk on the water. He failed earlier. It said he walked on the water and came out to Jesus. So I imagine Peter taking quite a few steps and walking on the water. So it's one thing for God to walk on water. We're going to know this man has incredible powers. But here's Peter not being affected by the elements around him, the winds, the waves. But if we keep reading, in verse 30, it goes, but when he saw the wind and the waves, he became afraid. And he starts to sink. And he cries out, oh my gosh, he began to sing and he cried out, like probably terrified, Lord, save me. And it says, Jesus immediately reached out his hand, picked him out and hugged him. It goes, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Let's just kind of break this down here. So Jesus is walking on the water, middle of kind of a windstorm. Peter starts walking on the water, and Peter starts to doubt and starts to sink. But Jesus isn't going to let him drown. Jesus picks him up out of the water and gives him a lecture. I was trying to figure out how I could use this in my life. Like this lesson, beautiful lesson. There are many different people say different ways, and say it the same way. And I'm just trying to take what I've heard and what I have studied and seen, and kind of let you guys in on this little thing. Now, in life, we have all sorts of storms, and we are called to be courageous and to lean on God during them. You have Peter that sees Jesus walking on the water, and you notice he goes, if this is you, command me to walk out with you. And Jesus says, come on, I want you out here, let's just do this. If you notice here, Peter didn't just assume he could walk on water. He asked God. And God was like, yeah, come on out here. Sometimes there's these storms that we see happening in other people's lives or happening around us, and we just jump right in without even asking God if he wants us in there. So first lesson that I get out of this is when you see a storm brewing in someone else's life, pray to God, ask God for his permission to go out there. And as we can see that Jesus said, come out here, I'll be with you. I think this is good practice, because if when we have these times in our lives where we see someone else going through it, we have to realize that we cannot walk on water from our own power. We can't walk into someone else's life and help them out on our own power, because honestly, we are broken sinners, and we as broken sinners cannot help a broken sinner. But our God came to earth and he lived a righteous life, not being broken, so he can help us out. And you notice when Peter began to sink, Jesus came up and picked him out. Because Jesus is not a broken sinner. He has the power to walk on water. We have the power to walk on water with him. Through him. Not our own power, not our own accord. We have to have God with us. And then I see Peter walking on the water. How amazing is that? That God allowed a man to walk on water. And he had his eyes on God. And when we're in our storm, a lot of times we get so focused on the storm and forget about God. There's a saying inside the Christian community that we don't want God until the time's too late. Right? Like as long as life's good, you don't want God. For me, I found that's kind of opposite. When time gets hard, I naturally don't turn to God. I have to seriously force myself to do it. To be honest with you guys, sometimes I feel I can get pleasure somewhere else, that God won't complete my pleasure. And as a Bible reading believer, I know that's not true. And as a God-fearing person, I know that's not true. That's what the flesh wants me to think. That when time gets rough, that I will seek better comfort in something else. But God claims that he will complete our joy. That if you come to him, he will make it easy and a rest. Jesus claims this. But it's hard to believe. I think that it's our power I think that the Christian maturity comes when you finally give up the pursuit of comfort. Because we try to find comfort in different things. Some people try to find comfort in alcohol. Other people try to find comfort in media. There's people who find comfort in gossip. We find comfort in the place where we are comfortable. in our house, in our possessions, in things that aren't God. We act like that will complete our comfort, where in fact it will never come close to completing our comfort. And Jesus promises that he will complete our comfort. So it's our ability to lay down all of our efforts, and all of our trying, all our strength, all of our might, and to claim that we trust in God. To claim that we trust in his perfection means we trust in his resurrection. Because without those two things, there is no comfort. Without Jesus' perfection, his death is meaningless. Without Jesus' resurrection, his power is meaningless. The fact that Jesus raised from the dead claims that death is defeated, and he's able to carry us to our everlasting. When the storm comes, don't focus on the winds and the waves and try to find your comfort in something else, because you will sink with that. You will drown. Find your comfort in Jesus. Now, the next beautiful thing about this, if you fail, if you mess up, if you don't focus on Jesus for a split second, start sinking, if you cry out to the Lord, Lord, save me, Jesus is going to hold you and say, I got you. He might lecture you a little bit, like now. You have little faith. So you have little faith, why'd you doubt? Because we are still living in the flesh. That's still a thing. This didn't go away. We're still here living in the flesh. But we're not living for the flesh. We're not living for the flesh. You see, Jesus picked him out and held him. He said, why did you doubt? Why? Why? And Peter's like, I don't know. It was scary. There was wind, there was waves. And Jesus goes, I know, I was out there with you, man. I got you. And Jesus understands our storm. He's with us in our storms. Our God isn't a God who sits from a throne and just watches us suffer and plays gambling games on us. God is a God who is with us. He gave us his Holy Spirit so that he may live in us and through us. You see, this is the beauty of who God is. Because God came down to earth to live with us. And he proves his compassion for us with Peter, right here. He saw that he doubted him. And God could have let him drown. He was like, you didn't believe, bubbles, great, bubbles are gone. He could have let him die. But Jesus picked him up and said, why'd you doubt? Peter, why? And that's so times in our own lives when we're in our storm, drowning, thinking that this is consuming me, there's no way out. When we cry out to the Lord, he is faithful to save us. But if you notice this, Jesus hasn't calmed the storm yet. In fact, Jesus gets Peter into the boat and then the storm calms. That seems super inconvenient. Okay, the first thing that's super inconvenient about this is that Jesus is walking on this really wavy ground. Like this is like trying to walk on a. I can't even imagine walking on this. He's walking on giant waves. And then Peter comes out, and there's still giant waves and wind. In fact, it's so big and so scary that it intimidates him. And he begins to sink. And he starts freaking out. And Peter's a fisherman. He knows how to swim. So the storm is worse than your wave pool at your water park. It's intimidating. And Jesus picks him out. And you see, he still hasn't calmed the storm. It still hasn't happened until he gets into the boat. So when you feel like you're drowning, you feel like the storm's over, when you trust in Jesus, and you put your faith in Jesus and say, I trust in your resurrection and your perfection in Jesus, that doesn't mean the storms are going to stop. It's not what it's claiming. In fact, it's more claiming that Jesus might call you to walk out onto the storm. Yeah, think about that just for a second. Jesus might call you to walk onto the storm, and you might start drowning doing it. And you might start to drown doing it. For faith is truly in Jesus. We know that the storm won't be the end of us. That one day that the storm will calm. The storm will calm. And the storm of life will end. And it may not even be in your lifetime. You might die physically in the storm, but we don't hope in a life on earth. We hope in a life in the everlasting. We hope in the life of the everlasting. Because our hope is found in the defeated death to come. I hope you guys find today's video very entertaining. I hope you guys enjoyed my take on Matthew 14, 23 through 33, and that you guys kind of got something out of it. Let me know in the comments below what you guys thought about this video, and some other topics that you guys been struggling with, or I can tell in this sermon and story. I'll see you next week. Good night.